call the meeting to order. Mrs. Burns, roll call.
Mr. Sullivan?
Present.
Mr. Parentano?
Present.
Mr. Allen?
Present.
Mrs. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Boyle?
Here.
Mr. Feather is absent with prior notice. Mrs. Hallenbeck?
Present.
Mr. Kovitz?
Here.
Mr. Marrington?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The board met in executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss matters of employment, issues related to labor relations, and matters related to litigation. District mission statement. The Neshaminy community builds futures by empowering each child to become a productive citizen and a lifelong learner. Mrs. Burns, any announcements?
No announcements.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, Superintendent's Report.
Good evening, everyone. We have some information from the Superintendent's Report that I'd like to share with you. The state has a program that they entitle Safe to Say. The Safe to Say program will provide a 800 number for anonymous reporting of any sort of danger or threat. A program like that has already been up and running in the state of Colorado. Pennsylvania is mirroring their program a bit after that. This is all part of a new statewide initiative to improve efforts to support students who are in unsafe circumstances. And so I'm alerting the community only because soon our Director of Administration, Assistant to the Superintendent, Mr. Paul Meehan, will be communicating out to families, to our staff, and then ultimately to our students to inform them more about the use of this anonymous tip line, but it is an effort to provide a safety and security backstop for the entire state here in Pennsylvania, and Neshaminy will be a participant and educating all the different players soon, within the next month or so. On this agenda, we will be approving, or for approval, will be the proposed preliminary budget. That's part of our business operations section of the agenda. We had a meeting last week to talk about the proposed preliminary budget. This is a first step in a multi-step process with respect to the budget, and we will be revisiting this in the early February work session because that's when the actual preliminary budget gets approved. And at that point, we'll be doing more work to get to a final budget that ultimately is in front of the board for final approval in June. In addition, there's a unique Neshaminy Senior Citizens Local Tax Assistance Program, and the board is going to act on a recommendation from the committee to increase the top income bracket so that more individuals in the Neshaminy community will be able to qualify for this tax assistance program. This is a local effort here, and you'll hear more about that in the resolution. We have a school resource officer agreement on our agenda. We have a long-standing relationship with Middletown Township and the police department there. We are formalizing our relationship through an agreement. Now, this year, we have 2 officers, one at our high school and one serving the 2 middle schools here in Middletown Township, and we appreciate greatly the support of the township and the Township Police Department. I want to congratulate Mrs. Burkholder and the curriculum and instruction people who worked on a Pennsylvania Department of Education PA Smart targeted K-12 computer science grant. And we were informed just last week, at the end of the week, that we are going to be the recipients of $35,000 to help improve our STEM education and specifically computer science at the elementary level. Our teachers will be provided some staff development, and in turn, our students will be the recipients of some stronger coding and computer science instruction at the earliest of our grades. And so we're really excited about that support from the state. And again, good work on the part of our curriculum instruction office. Can you believe it? 2019 and 20 school year. We're already having a parent night for our parents of 8th graders. February 7th, Thursday evening, February 7th from 6 to 6:30. You can tour the high school, and then 6:30 there'll be a program in the auditorium. Parents will be informed from the middle schools about that program, but it's exciting to be thinking about the new school year as we are in the middle of the current one. If you like these board meetings, and some of you in our audience obviously do, if you like these board meetings, you can now, I just know because some of you continue to come out, but I'm going to save you a trip because you can now view our board meetings on our YouTube channel. Board meetings now have a specific YouTube channel that is dedicated to these board meetings, and you can watch them over and over again. But they are available, and all from the time that we started using board docs forward have all been uploaded. I want to thank Mr. Stanley. It was a lot of work to get us up to speed and up to date, and going forward, they'll be up soon, probably within the 24 hours is expected when we can turn it around and have that up and available, so you don't have to wait for it to be on the television station. Neshaminy's Minithon recently raised $14,600 plus. It's a phenomenal effort, $3,000 more than last year's, and it benefits 4 Diamonds. It's a program that's going to help fight childhood cancer that currently does do that work. And just this Monday, yesterday, Maple Point had a couple hundred students here working together in a collaborative, cooperative fashion to help feed the homeless. It's an effort that now has been going on for a couple of the Martin Luther King holiday programs. Our students choose to come here early in the morning and work for a few hours to really produce a phenomenal output. And I know the work is greatly appreciated by the recipients. And then finally, our high school it's Jekyll and Hyde, the musical, is going to be performed next week, Thursday, January 31st at 7 o'clock, and runs through Sunday, February 3rd. There's more information on our website, and we hope to have a lot out to see the wonderful work of our high school musical performers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That brings us to the first public comment period. Please approach the podium. Identify who you are, your employment, and where you live. Mrs. Burns, anyone sign up?
Steve Rodas.
Oh, okay.
Good evening. I'm Steve Rodas. I live in the village of Flowers Mill in Langhorne. I lived in this district for 18 years. During this time, I've attended nearly all school board meetings and committee meetings, which have been held by the board. Except for a few topics, in most instances, I have agreed with the various boards in the operation of the district. Lately, however, I am extremely embarrassed. I would like the Neshaminy School District to be in the news as a symbol of the great education provided to students, and not in the news for their use of a symbol or nickname whose usefulness and meaning is long gone and past its time. This is the second time in 5 years that the same issue has caused the district to be portrayed in a negative and demeaning manner by both local and national media. In a 1913 speech, Winston Churchill, when commenting upon his dream of a centrist party and the opposition thereto, stated, "On both sides there are fools at one end and crackpots at the other, but the great body in the middle is sound and wise." I call upon the school board to put an end to this problem and the attendant negative publicity. I urge you to relinquish the ghost of times past and to do what is right and just for the benefit of everyone. I, for one, am totally embarrassed by this situation. Thank you.
Okay.
I think the gentleman in the back wants to speak.
Did you sign up or?
He didn't
Oh,
sign up.
that's okay. Yeah, it's fine. Just state your name, where you live, and your employment.
Yeah? Good, okay. My name's John Bush. I live in Feasterville, Pennsylvania. I am a 1982 graduate of Neshaminy, and actually have lived in this school district all of my 54 years. So go back quite a ways, and I just really wanted to express my thanks to the school board over these last few years for fighting this fight. It's been rough to watch. It's been rough to see the community at odds. For the most part, it's been a small minority, I realize, that's introduced this issue. But in all of my time at Neshaminy and my time in this community, the name has meant nothing but reverence, respect, pride. And I fully support the board in your efforts. I understand we have a small minority that we're dealing with, but when we have a faction of our state government that's basically trying to force their agenda and basically ram this down our throat, it's a tough battle, and I commend you for fighting the good fight, and I would ask you to keep that up. It's that part of it's tough to watch when what I look at this as is our school board is defending our reputation as a community. It's been rough to see that. We've been run through, as the gentleman stated. Yeah, it's been in the news, and it's been tough to watch. But everything, like I said, my history with this, my history in interacting with my family, with my friends, with former classmates, whoever it may be, going to the high school games, and there's been nothing in our hearts and minds but a good feeling about that name. And to have people from the outside telling us what's in our hearts and minds, I think it's wrong, and I think it's important that we stand up to that. I would ask you to continue that, and thank you.
Okay. That brings us to the routine matters section. I'd like to make a master motion to approve item 2.01 minutes, 2.02 treasurer's report, 2.03 check register and procurement card purchases, 2.04 bids, 2.05 investments, and 2.06 exonerations. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Comments, questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Personnel certificated. I'd like to make a motion to approve item 3.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments, 3.02, leaves of absence, 3.03, revised returns from leave, 3.04, appointments, 3.05, co-curricular resignations, 3.06, co-curricular appointments, 3.07, ancillary appointments. Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Bowman. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Personnel support, Mrs. Hollenbeck.
I'd like to make a master motion to approve the following agenda items. 4.01, retirements, resignations, end of assignments. 4.02, leaves of absence. 4.03, revised returns from leave. Bless you. 4.04, appointments. 4.05, co-curricular resignations. 4.06, co-curricular appointments. And 4.07, ancillary appointments.
Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Coates. Any comments or questions?
I'd just like to make brief comments about our staff. We have two members of the staff with 20 years experience leaving us, a member with 24 years, one with 28 years, and another one with 35 years of service in Neshaminy leaving us. I just want you to know the school board appreciates the long-term service you've had with Neshaminy and wish you well in your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puritano. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Educational Development, Mrs. Boyle.
I'd like to make a master motion to approve 5.01, which is overnight trips, 5.02, which is home instruction, and 5.03, out-of-district placements.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Hollenbeck. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Business Operations, Mrs. Hollenbeck. Sorry.
No. I'd like to make a motion for 6.01. Whereas, in accordance with Act 1 of 2006, the Board of School Directors received a proposed preliminary budget for the 2019-20 fiscal year, and whereas the school district did on January 11, 2019, published a notice of intent to adopt proposed preliminary budget of school district as required by Act 1, 2006 of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And whereas in order to further comply with the Pennsylvania Department of Education interpretation of Act 1 of 2006, the Board of School Directors must adopt a proposed preliminary budget. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby adopts the 2019-2020 proposed preliminary budget in accordance with Act 1 of 2006, and it was made available for public inspection beginning January 23rd, 2019, as required by law.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Boyle. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0.
I'd like to make a motion for 6.02, School Resource Officer Agreement. Whereas the Public School Code of 1949, as amended at Section 617, grants authority to a school district to enter into agreements with other political subdivisions to provide for the safety and security of its students and to secure the services of a school resource officer, SRO, who may be employed as of the other political subdivisions. And whereas the Neshaminy School District, the Township of Middletown, and Middletown Police Department have agreed to the specific terms and conditions of the service to be performed and provided by an SRO set forth in the School Resource Officer Interagency Agreement. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the School Resource Officer Interagency Agreement with Middletown Township and the Middletown Police Department.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Piratano. Comments or questions?
I'd just like to add a comment. I want to thank the Middletown Board of Supervisors as well as the Middletown Police Department. They're now offering 2 resource officers to service Neshaminy schools in the Middletown area. It's greatly appreciated, and we hope to continue to work with you and our other municipalities to try and increase SROs in our schools throughout the entire district. So thank you again, and it's much appreciated.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0.
Whereas, I know I am going to need water, 6.03, Addendum to Lease Lower Southampton Elementary School, BCIU. Whereas the Neshaminy Board of School Directors have an existing lease agreement dated August 16, 2016, with the Bucks County Intermediate Unit Number 22 for their use of Lower Southampton Elementary School. And whereas the current lease agreement requires specific modifications, upgrades to the school, including but not limited to upgrades for the HVAC systems to the BCIU by a specific date. And whereas the BCIU has expressed a desire to satisfy the HVAC upgrades through a Neshaminy School District Guaranteed Energy Savings Act, GESA, project where the BCIU will then reimburse the district. And whereas the Neshaminy School Board of Directors is amenable to assist the BCIU in completing certain improvements if reimbursement is made in full to the district and the work qualifies under the Guaranteed Energy Savings Act as an energy conservation measure as amended. And whereas Neshaminy School Board of Directors is amenable to assisting the BCIU with the BCIU's required work under the lease, which qualifies for the guaranteed savings agreement with the qualified provider as defined by the Guaranteed Energy Savings Act as amended. And whereas the work associated with such a GIZA project can be accomplished over the course of the balance of this calendar year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors approves the attached second amendment to the lease that incorporates the utilization of a GIZA project and extends the timeline for the completion of this work to December 31st, 2019, and authorizes the board president and secretary to execute the second amendment in the form presented at the meeting, and the board president, secretary, solicitor, and other officers of the school district are authorized to take all action required to effectuate this motion and second amendment.
Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Allen. Comments or questions?
I think in order to give Mrs. Hollenbach a break between her next motion she has to read, this is a complicated matter. We have had discussions with this in the Facilities Committee. This is a good project for all. I think Mr. Jones can give a little bit more specifics for the public to understand exactly what we're undertaking here.
As part of the lease agreement the board entered into with the IU was responsible, has been responsible for the upgrade that's identified here, specifically the HVAC. They've sought and have received bids for the work, and those bids have come in too high for their budget to handle. But what is available to us as a school district through our GIZA participation is to utilize that avenue, and in turn, as this identifies, they will reimburse the school district for all that money expended and be able to accomplish their project. So the goal will be to still accomplish what's expected out of the lease, utilizing this GIZA opportunity. And our solicitors looked at it. This is something that both solicitors have agreed is a workable arrangement, and we're pleased to be able to work with the IU. It's been a good collaborative relationship, and the Lower South building will be stronger because of that. And it serves a good number of our students because of our pre-K counts program. We have a lot of preschool students in that program who are Neshaminy residents and ultimately will be Neshaminy students. So this is a win-win for us.
Thank you. I think we have a second, right? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Your last one.
I'd like to make a motion for 6.04 Senior Citizen Tax Assistant Program. Whereas the Neshaminy School District has provided a local tax assistant program for senior citizens since 1977, and whereas the district funding for the program has increased 9 times since its inception, including increases in both rebate amounts and income levels, which determine eligibility. And whereas since 1977, the district has distributed more than $2.6 million to qualifying senior citizens in our community. And whereas the district continues to be concerned with the increased burden on senior citizens caused by escalating real estate taxes. And whereas the district recognizes that a number of senior citizens have become ineligible due to small increases in Social Security income over a number of recent years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Neshaminy Board of School Directors hereby approves the modification of the Neshaminy Citizens Tax Assistant Program so as to increase the maximum income eligibility from $19,999 to $24,999 and incorporated the following chart for tax rebate purposes.
Can I get a second? Second by Mrs. Boyle. Any comments or questions?
I just want to say that we did talk about this at the last Finance Committee meeting, and it's a good thing. We're still well within the money that we have budgeted allotted to this, so it's not an impact to the district. It's only a positive thing for all of the senior citizens that do qualify. So I hope everybody that's eligible does take advantage of it.
Thank you, Mrs. Hollenbach. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Comes to the closing of the meeting section. Any other board business? Second public comment period. All right. Board comment.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I missed one person in our retirements. One of our certified staff is retiring with 28 years of service. And thank you very much. I believe it's Mrs. Packers, I think it is. 28 years of service teaching here at Neshaminy. Thank you so much, and have a great retirement. Mr. Stanley, thank you so much for finally getting the YouTube thing done. I know with the amount of time that you have available, since you're almost in every school, almost every day, doing something to promote the district, that was a big undertaking, and I appreciate you getting it done, and it looks great. And now I know how to put myself to sleep at night. Just turn one of them on and just go right, just go right out. I appreciate both Mr. Rodas and Mr. Bush for speaking on the issue at hand. That shows a great dynamic, I think, of where this argument is on both sides. There's arguments out there for both. I feel very comfortable as a school board member and a resident here supporting the position the board has supported. I was one of the testifiers at the hearing, and it's I'm not a big government overreach person, and the way this agency's treating this district and trying to label every person in this district is not right, and but it's still an open debate, and I just appreciate two well-spoken people at the podium showing both sides of an issue. So thank you both for coming out. Thank you everyone else for coming out. Have a great evening.
I just have a couple quick things here. Actually, Steve beat me to the punch here. I wanted to point out the good work Chris has been doing. We were talking about it, and when we started adding up everything that I feel that you brought to increase our social media presence, that's been, when I first got on this board, if it weren't for the Courier Times or coming to the meeting, really didn't know what was going on here, and a lot of misinformation wound up getting shot around. And I think the fact that we have our Facebook presence and the Twitter presence and now the YouTube channel greatly expands our reach and understanding. If somebody really wants to understand what we do here and the debates we're having, they should be coming here. But since they don't, they can get us online. And I think that's fantastic, and I wanted to commend, because I know how hard that must be, and I know you're everywhere. Every event I show up at, he's got a camera in my face, so there it is. And on that note, I wanted to point out all the work in service I saw going on for the Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday, yesterday, and just all good works throughout the community. And it really is a good opportunity for our kids to get involved and give back, and they're always up to the challenge and really do make us look good, and love to see that. And last thing I wanted to point out, with all the retirements we had here on the chart, one that jumped out at me here was Mr. Shillingford, who's near and dear to me, being in facility maintenance end of things. Put 35 years in here, and I just wanted to thank him for his service, keeping our buildings operation. He's support staff for the facility management, and I know he does a great job. Wanted to thank him for that, and thank everyone else who put their time in for the district.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Anyone else? Okay. One thing I just wanted to mention, we did approve the proposed preliminary budget. From a number standpoint, right now we have an approximately $8.5 million deficit. So the Business Operations Committee, the board, and administration has its work cut out for us. We have to look for some cost containment measures because it's not like revenue drops out of the sky for a school district. So I just want to put that out there so everyone knows, we're fighting the uphill battle here. And with that, I'll make a motion to close the meeting. Got to get a second? Second one, Mrs. Hollenbach. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 8-0.